Hello, hello. I'm Tyler,
And I'm Justin.
and this is Newbies to Movies, where we like to talk about new movies that we have not seen before, really just to grow our film knowledge and overall just filmography of anything. So we're gonna try something new this week, where we talk about some stuff that we've either watched or been up to within the past week or something. So I'll start. I've went to go see Long Walk within the past week and a half, which is by Stephen King, which he's the main main topic of this week is Stephen King films. I really like The Long Walk. We'll talk about it a little later towards the end of the podcast because I have a feeling it's going to be within our ranking of his total movies. I'm also currently watching Task. It's a new show on HBO. It has Mark Ruffalo in it, and the rest of the actors I don't really know. One guy from Ozark. It's really interesting though. Really like crime show. That gets me going. And then Peacemaker. I've been keeping up with Peacemaker, which season 2 is very good. And I think there's about to be a huge twist on part of season 2 that I could theorize, but yeah.
I didn't start it yet, specifically because I was finishing Rick and Morty, the newest season. The show kind of hasn't been the same. The main guy got canceled. I think he had like a domestic abuse case against his wife. So yeah, it just hasn't been the same since. He voiced both Rick and Morty, but he was a big part in the writing too. So it's just kind of gone downhill from there. It's still really funny, and it's a very meta show. Like they make fun of the fact that the writing's gone down in the show.
Yeah.
But it was pretty good. It's pretty good. I've always enjoyed that show.
Yeah. I watched Rick and Morty up, except for this most recent seasons.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see how they actually go into it, like go 4D, go like, yep. We have a new writer, by the way. Kind of like how South Park goes after themselves all the time too.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Peacemaker, something else that like the big theory. I have a spoiler alert, but it's not really because it hasn't actually happened. It's just a theory that I have that like this whole different metal universe that he's going into is like actually like Germany. So the Nazis like won the World War, and that's what the new world that he's getting into, and he has no idea.
That seems very Peacemaker-esque.
Peacemaker, and seems like something James Gunn would do, because James Gunn's been saying out, he's like, oh, you want me to do multiverse into DC? Okay, watch this. And then
Well,
then
also piggybacking off of like season 1, it was like kind of like a dark turn. I mean, the whole show is dark, but there was like some dark ties to like that anyway. So like going down this path would be pretty funny.
Yeah. So getting into like our topic of this week is Stephen King himself. So it's Stephen King adaptations, because Stephen King doesn't make movies or anything like that, but rather he's a really known author, produced over 200 short stories in his whole career, has a crazy amount of, so he's won, find this, 110 awards, have been nominated 295 times for all like different stories that he's written. A lot of movies have been made using his stuff. Some examples are Carrie, The Shining, Dead Zone, Stand By Me, Misery, Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, The Mist, and then the It movies, which they're coming out with a new show. But he's 78, but he's still cooking them out right now. Still making books, still doing all kinds of things. He also has very strong political opinions. That's also why in pop culture, he's an interesting pop culture icon, I would say. He's also pretty known for doing drugs all the time. Like I'm pretty sure a bunch of his books, he's like, yeah, I was on drugs.
I could see that in some of his stories, not necessarily the movies, but from where the stories are heading.
Yeah. He said while he wrote It, which is like a way bigger book than what the movie shows, like there's so much lore to like the Pennywise, the clown. And apparently the entire time he was writing it, he was just on cocaine and meth. And he says he remembers writing like half of it.
That makes sense, because isn't Pennywise like a alien from deep space? Like,
yes,
the whole thing. Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah, he's a spoiler alert.
You wouldn't get that from like the horror-esque movies that they made. I've seen both of them. I know he goes into like this whole thing in the end of the second one, but yeah,
Yeah, he and then he also has a movie about Cujo, which is like a Beethoven dog, like a
Hmm.
really big Siberian. I don't know what type of dogs those are, but he
I
apparently
think
does
it's like
not
a
remember writing it.
mastiff or
Yeah,
something.
Mastiff,
Yeah.
and that Mastiff just like gets rabies and tries to kill a bunch of people. And he says he doesn't remember writing it at all, and it became like a bestseller because he's just on drugs.
Yeah.
Now, the movies that we chose this week, I think one of them you could see he was a little bit on drugs, while the other one is like a very like nice like coming of age story that doesn't seem very like a lot of his other projects and stuff. But yeah, so the two movies that we did this week were Stand By Me and Misery. So Stand By Me is out on Netflix, and then Misery is on HBO Max. That's where I.
Yeah, that's where I watched it as well.
But yeah, overall, it's just kind of crazy getting into Stand By Me, like how much I actually loved this movie. I was surprised. One, I've never seen this movie before, and kind of shame on my parents for never showing it to me growing up because this movie is awesome.
Yeah, I enjoyed this movie a lot.
Yeah. Um, I was just like, wait, where has this been like all my life? Like, why have I not seen this? Um, It's based off a novel by Stephen King called The Body, which the body itself is like set in a short stories novel that also included the Shawshank Redemption. So like the same little stories had Shawshank Redemption and The Body, which was renamed to Stand By Me by the director because he thought it went a little bit better with the story.
It was just the
So yeah,
scale of the two movies just feel
yeah,
completely different. It's weird to think about that being interconnected.
yeah, yeah. Two total different types that are connected within like it's so short stories. So like it's two different stories, but like in the same
Yeah.
book that it came out,
Yeah.
which is cool. So Stand By Me is a coming of age drama film where these four guys or four kids say they want to go see a body. And it's like, hey, you want to go see a dead body? And then they go on this crazy adventure in Oregon to go see a dead body that they heard from one of their brothers that was there. And it's like a roller coaster of a film in a lot of ways, but like some of the best like childhood acting I think I've ever watched.
Yeah. I felt like all the actors, you know, the children, even the older teens, were really good, and each one had their specific personality traits that you like. Somebody could, you know, stick to that person. Somebody could say, "Oh, that reminds me of a younger me," that kind of thing.
Yeah. No, it was nominated for Academy Award for Best Adapted Screenplay, two nominated for a Golden Globe for Best Motion Picture and for Best Director. Getting into the director himself, Rob Reiner. So he was an actor before this, and he's Jordan Belfort's dad in Wolf of Wall Street. That's that's the director of this movie, which I thought
Yeah.
was
Okay.
interesting.
His
After
dad was
this,
funny.
yeah, yeah, it makes sense why he can like make these kind of movies because look at this run that he has for 5 movies in a row, or 6 movies, not five. Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, Misery, and then A Few Good Men. Like that's a insane run of just like known movies pretty well, pretty like etched into like pop culture. I feel like in different ways.
Yeah, they all stand out and all for their different things. I wouldn't have known that that was the same director by any means for
Yeah,
all of those movies.
yeah. Like I don't think any of these are even close to the same. Like you got A Few Good Men. That's like it's like oh, all right, and then Misery is just totally different types of movies. Princess Bride is like its own thing. Crazy that he was the director, but yeah. Okay, now getting into the categories. So starting off with plot, for me, I gave this a 10 out of 10 for me. I really like the plot. I really like how to set up. These kids are just being kids. The treehouse scene is such a great scene to start off the movie with, where he's listening to him. And this is right after you see like the stealing of his baseball hat from his that was his dead brothers. And then it leads into like this. They're just being kids. They're just like joking around at a treehouse. And then he's like, hey, I have something cool to tell you guys. And then they just keep interrupting him. It's like, oh, that's like such a actual like real thing that we did as boys.
Yeah. The scale of the plot felt so small, and I think that's what made it so impactful is that it was a small story. It wasn't like this is like a national news by any means, but these four kids, it felt like they cared a lot about each other, and that's what you cared about. That's what you were grabbing onto the whole film, was the relationship between those four.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I'm trying to think. So also part of it was during this film, it feels so real. Is what I'm trying to get after. It's just, I think that's what's so great about the plot is that none of this feels too far fetched. And it's super believable. And this film comes out in 1986 and comes out like a year before is Goonies, which this film and Goonies feel so similar of like going on a journey. But yeah, I just really like the coming of age of like through a journey, and the conversations they have are so real to me. And especially the ending of the film. That's also what I like about the plot is that they, throughout this journey, they've learned about each other and they realized, let's just leave the body. Like, we don't need the money. We did, like, it sounded like a cool thing. And then like they matured so much to where they're like, okay, this is not like, okay.
Bigger than them. Yeah, the character development was really good.
Yeah, it was very well done. And of course it was Gordy at the end with the gun, which, fun fact, in the movie, Chris Chambers, or not in the movie, in the book, Chris Chambers actually has the gun at the end. And then Rob Reiner changed that because he thought it should be Gordy himself. Also, in the book, it's focused around all four at the same time, while this movie is more focused around Gordy himself, which I thought was interesting.
I think it would be hard to really center it around all four of them at the same time, especially with the limited time that you get in a movie. You know, you can add 200 extra pages to a book for each character to develop their story further. It would be way too much in a movie.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. This film was also recognized by Stephen King. He doesn't like most of his adaptations, but he said this is like the one he likes the most, like adapted wise, to people like, or the director changing parts of it. Apparently he like left the theater for a while and then came back and he said, that's the best movie I've ever seen that's adapted off of my stuff.
I wonder if
we'll get into his movies. Yeah, probably like, who knows? Maybe this film like had like a big part of him, especially like the Chris Chambers character. You could see maybe being a big part of like emotional part of someone.
Yeah.
Now, getting into characters, I gave it a 9 out of 10. I thought all of them were themselves, and like you said earlier, you could see yourself probably in one of the four guys.
Yeah,
a standout character. Sorry, you go ahead.
No, go.
A standout character to me is definitely Chris Chambers himself, and this may get more into the acting later. And also these characters, and it's publicly known by Reiner himself that all of these characters are pretty much representative of the actors themselves. Like the actors are kind of playing themselves, and that's how they grew. That's how they were as boys.
I don't know the one guy's name, but I know he's also in Goonies, and I was like, this is exactly how he acts in Goonies. Like, this is the same kid. There's no difference.
Yeah, Corey Feldman. Corey Feldman. Yeah. Yeah, no. They described it like, oh yeah, Corey Feldman is like the kind of sometimes a little too serious, but then sometimes like way out there kind of guy, and that's how he was in real life. Jerry O'Connell, who's also randomly pops up nowadays still, was a fat kid and like when he was growing up and all that kind of stuff. Chris Chambers was like the it guy, like the coolest guy that you could ever meet. And then Gordy Will Wheaton was like a very quiet guy that plays Gordy. So yeah.
Jerry O'Connell, I had no idea that was him. I was like, that doesn't even look like him anymore. Like, I would have never known that was the same guy.
Another fun fact is Jerry O'Connell actually he lost his virginity while filming this movie.
No.
He like came out and told like Vanity Fair, he's like, yeah, like I was smiling ear to ear, and River Phoenix and Will Wheaton were like, why are you smiling? Like chunky, and he owned up to it. I thought that was just funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, these characters are just, I really resonate with a lot of them in a lot of different ways of myself. And then also just like the way that like, I always wish I went on like a childhood journey like that, or just went gone for 2 days. Nowadays, you can't do that, or else your parents are going to call the cops. But 1959 was probably pretty normal.
Yeah. because
Yeah.
there was no way to like check in. Like they came up with the plan to tell each other's moms that they were at somebody else's house. So now you would like find out pretty quick if they weren't. But back in the day, no, you get away with that.
Yeah. Most parents were like, all right, yeah, we get a couple days away from them, whatever.
Yeah.
Now, moving into cinematography, I gave it an 8 out of 10 for when it was filmed and then what age it's setting into. I really liked it. It was actually set in like the Oregon backwoods and all that, where it's like everything's real. Like it's nothing fake to it. So I think that's pretty cool.
No, yeah, the cinematography did look really good. I specifically think about the shot when they're walking on the over the bridge right into the wilderness kind of. That was like the bridge connecting the wooded area to the city that they were coming out of. I thought that was the best because, you know, it's 15, 20 minutes into the film, we're introduced to everybody. And it's like, okay, this is where their journey starts. You can tell that's the starting point. Then they also harp back on it at the end and they cross back over it. It's like, okay, this is the ending point, you know, kind of moving forward with everything now.
Yeah. And then the deer scene too, where he's like, I've never told anyone that I saw that. Until then, I thought that was a really cool shot as well.
Yeah, that was cool.
And then dialogue, I gave it a 10 out of 10. Again, it gets into like the realness of conversations that you have as like a young adult, like male. Like I feel like I had a lot of those type of conversations growing up all the time. I just thought it was perfectly done with those small ones.
Yeah, no, I agree. Forgive me, I forgot his name again, but Jerry O'Connell's character, he was hilarious the whole time. I mean, he always had something to say, and if the group didn't like it, they were gonna rip him a new one for saying it
Yep.
and pick on him all the time.
Yeah. And then like the whole like dad scene where it's like, like, I know your dad feel how he feels about you. Like he doesn't give a crap about you. And he was the one, he cared about you and don't try to tell me different. He's like, oh, gee, thanks. He's like, I wish I was your dad. You wouldn't be going around talking about stupid things. And God gave you something, man. And he said, this is what I got for you. Try not to lose it. Kids lose everything. And if your parents are too messed up to do it, then maybe I should tell you this. And like,
Yeah.
wow, I feel like that's really
Yeah.
deep.
No, and it was so deep because it was a kid who was saying this. We're like,
Yeah.
wow, for a kid to be the one to come up with this is crazy. And then that made it connect for, Will was the main character. He later on realized like, no, you have it too. Like I'm bringing you with me kind of thing. And for two kids to like understand the depth of that was, I think it hit for me at least, but I think it would hit for a lot of people as well.
Yeah. Um, yeah. And then I feel like going with acting, I also gave it a 10 out of 10. Again, I think this is the best like childhood acting I've seen, led by all like child actors. Like differences is like some other movies, like some really good child actors, but they're with adults. This is like all based around children. And I thought they were all just phenomenal.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, typically you see like actors that age, they're usually being carried by a adult actor and they kind of work in as a pair, you know, especially like nowadays on the red carpet at all the press and everything, you'll see them together as a pair, kind of as just like a parental figure. But for this, it was clearly just them all the way home.
No, and then like the whole Chris Chambers played by River Phoenix, like scene right by the campfire where he's like, but me, like, I'm sure she had her eye on that for a long time, but she saw a chance and took it. I was stupid. I never thought teacher who cares about me anyways. I just wish I could go someplace where nobody knows me and I'm just a like blank. And something behind the scene was Rob Reiner said that like he really wanted to get emotion out of River Phoenix for this. So he told him to like imagine someone that really disappointed him in his life to really get up the acting for this. And then he had that scene. That was like the first take right after he told him that. And then he apparently couldn't stop crying for about like an hour after that scene ended. Yeah. So even greater like story within itself about River Phoenix, which like really sadly, because River Phoenix died when he was like 23 due to like a drug overdose, like combined drug intoxication, whole thing really started like opening up the eyes of the film industry of like, oh, maybe like we should keep an eye on all these like childhood actors that come up because a bunch of them were doing drugs and all this, but he was like the big name that really died young.
Yeah. Wow.
Um, and his brother is Joaquin Phoenix. I don't know if
Yeah,
you,
that's right. That's where I was hearing that name.
yeah, so yeah. And his brother like really struggled with the early part of his career because they kept comparing him to his deceased brother and all that. And River Phoenix was reading up and then also like hearing some other podcasts. He was like noted as like being just the guy. And you can see in this movie, like this guy has crazy potential as an actor. It could be great. And he's really compared to Leonardo DiCaprio in that way, where DiCaprio at a young age was everyone was like, oh, this is that guy.
Yeah.
Um, and a lot of people also believe that River Phoenix could have probably done a very similar career to what Leonardo DiCaprio did and still is doing. So
Yeah, that makes sense.
just,
That scene you were talking about, like the depth there. I remember thinking as I was watching it, like, wow, this is like I gotta like snap out of it because this is a kid. Like this isn't like a grown adult actor who's like displaying all this emotion not only in his body language but the dialogue as well. I was like, this is like a kid. Like I don't know how
yeah.
to explain it. It's just crazy to watch coming out of a kid.
hmm Yeah. It felt very real. And like hearing that story, it was real,
Hmm.
which I think speaks to it. Now, getting into sound effects, I gave it 8 out of 10. I think it would be a little lower if it wasn't for like the whole final like montage scene of him playing with his kids to Stand By Me. For one, I love that song. And then also just it goes perfectly with like what the film means for the entire thing and how it.
Yeah, I think about the song Lollipop as well. I think that was pretty well placed in the story, them all really getting along, enjoying their time together, everything like that.
Set design goes kind of with this, what we already talked about with cinematography. I give it a 9 out of 10. They filmed it all within 3 months, and every single night, like the guys were told that they were just like getting up to trouble in like their hotel that they were staying at. So in the hotel, they were just joking around with each other, all this stuff. Rainer said that they always slept past like their bedtimes, but I thought that was like really cool that such a small story in such a small place, but they wanted to keep everyone in that small area to just stay in character the whole time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I think some of the best films are set up that way. Just keeping such a contained atmosphere could probably really go a long way.
hmm Directing, I gave him a 8 out of 10. I think this is probably Rob Reiner's second best film out of the ones that we listed earlier. Because there's one big one that we will also talk about Stephen King films. But I think overall he did really good, and especially like hearing the stories about how he pushed these kids to be like great in these scenes, and then like the changes he did from the books that were his decisions, I thought was also really.
Hmm. Yeah, I think everything like we were talking about earlier, him making the desired changes to the story, I think it was pretty perfect for this.
Yeah, it was originally supposed to be directed by someone else, Adrian Lean. Apparently, he's known for Fatal Attraction, which won him a big couple awards. But then he decided to go on vacation, so then they gave it to Rob Reiner, who only had 2 films at that time. The movie was also almost not made because uh, another company with Coca-Cola, which owns like Embassy Pictures, or bought it out, and they weren't going to make the film. But then the old owner of NBC Pictures paid for it himself. Like he gave out 8 million to just let it happen.
Wow.
So if it wasn't
You
for
must
that
have saw
old,
something. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure. Getting into editing, I thought it was a 8 out of 10. Again, just really good cut scenes, specifically going back to like the campfire story about like the puking story. I think that was like greatly cut. So like having narration in the background of it as like literally just a campfire story that people just tell each other, like just for those funny ones that people tell each other, but then like having it actually play out is really, really funny.
No, that was perfectly shot. And I initially thought it was kind of odd, but then I saw where they were going with it. Like they're trying
Yeah.
to get the rest of the group to understand like his storytelling and the passion that he has for it.
hmm Oh yeah. Thought that was edited perfectly. And then lastly, going into theme, I give it a 10 out of 10. I think of coming of age films, this has to be like up, like probably the my number one overall from all of coming of age films I've ever seen, uh,
Hmm.
and just seeing how people can grow within a couple days.
Yeah. Well, I think it's, perfectly displaying like the overall innocence of childhood. and kind of how that transitions into the real adult world and like the harshness of that. And I thought it was done perfectly because those four guys have already been through so much as kids. They all kind of had a little bit of a dark backstory. So they've already kind of been through it, but it's about them maturing through that now and heading into their next stage of life, which is high school at that point.
Yeah. And it's like all like kind of summed up with like one of the last lines of the film of like, I never had any friends later on, like the ones I had when I was 12. And he says, Jesus, does anyone? That's how he ends his book. And I was like, damn, I
Yeah.
feel that. It's
Yeah.
like,
It's pretty nuts.
yeah, because I think most people can't really count on past like they're probably like one hand how many friends they still like are really close with from when they were 12, which I think is a
Yeah.
really deep thing as well. But you always have those things to look back on.
Yeah.
Okay. So now getting into who is your favorite character?
My favorite was probably Will. I think just because it was being narrated through him, I feel like I could sympathize with him the most. Yeah,
So
mainly just because we
Gordy.
dove into him the most.
Yeah. Um, I think mine has to be Chris Chambers. So played by River Phoenix. I just feel so deep for him. I thought it was really crazy. It's like so like tragic, and then like no, like reading up on his backstory of like how he grew up. He grew up like pretty much a cult, and I don't know. You could see a little bit of that playing out. You could see how much his parents have actually disappointed him in real life, and it's like wow, such a deep character that was really only made for him. I don't think any other childhood actor could play what he played.
Yeah,
And
definitely
then
not at that level.
yeah, no. And then what did the ending mean to you?
So you mean just like the fact that he stated like he never had friends before, or like you mean?
Or just like the way that they ended it altogether. Like what did you interpret out of that? Like, because Stephen King probably ended that as like probably mean a little bit something.
Yeah, I think obviously Gordy like was the one that made it out, and he's trying to display that, but kind of talking about Phoenix's character. Sorry, I think it just him explaining that he also made it out, but at the end of the day, he just died as well. So it's like go for what you believe you can do because you never know truly when it's going to be the end. That's what I kind of took from that specific line about him talking about that character dying. But
Yeah, I think it's like so it's a rated R film that
Mhm.
involves kids. So, but also like a film that I personally think should be shown to kids at like in that age group, probably like middle school age. I feel like this movie would be perfect for them, even though it's rated R. As long as you like make them known that like probably smoking and stuff is not normal anymore, like that kind of stuff. But I think what it's meant to be is one, enjoy it while you can, and like, but also like, don't be afraid to like push each other
yeah,
to do something bigger than what you think you could possibly do. Like, don't limit yourself.
yeah. Well,
I think that was like,
also, yeah, like the ones that are pushing you, it's because they care about you and they see the potential in you. Like he said,
yeah,
he didn't have
exactly.
friends later on in life like he did back then. And those were the ones that pushed him to do his best.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, don't limit yourself just because you're doing it, and also push each other kind of thing. What was your favorite scene?
I think mine was the campfire scene. I think that was like the perfect embodiment of being a kid, but also, you know, because they were scared of all the surrounding sounds that they were hearing, everything like that. So they decided to keep one person up, and then each one of them going through their time being up, their own like distinct personality traits coming out when they're
Yeah.
on guard. That was pretty funny, but also like the deep scene with Gordy and River Phoenix's character talking, everything like that was really beautiful.
I think mine is like the final, like when they finally find the body scene, like all that encapsulated of how like another thing is that they never showed like the kids what the body looked like until like they started filming that specific scene. So like that is like their actual reactions of like what a dead body looks like. So it's
Yeah.
that, and then also in the way of like you look at Keith Sutherland, who plays like the kind of like the villain, I guess, of the film. Also, crazy shout out to Keith Sutherland. He's been like in 24. He's been in a bunch of random
Yeah.
things. So, so that's just like I didn't expect him to be in the movie. And like, you could see in his face, like he's like, I may actually kill these kids. And they're like, yo, like, you could see his friends were like, oh, like, we were just joking the whole time. And then they could see it and they're like, oh, like, this guy Ace, like, he may actually like kill these kids. And then Gordy stands up for himself, like the quietest guy in the group, really just stands up for himself and is just like, go away. I can't say what he actually ends up saying, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's my favorite scene. So I rated it, my highest rating so far, a 9 out of 10. Yeah. This will
Yeah,
probably
I
go
gave.
down as like a top 10 movie for me all time.
Wow. That's really good. I gave it a 8.2. I thought it was really great overall. There's not much. I mean, you could nitpick this movie a little bit here and there, but other than that, I thought it did great in every category.
Yeah. I think overall for like a coming of age film, it's perfect, almost perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, now getting into Misery.
Yeah. So let's do a quick 180 for Misery. So with the plot, I gave this movie a 6. So kind of just to explain it, like this writer, Paul Sheldon, played by James Caan, was in a car crash because he likes to go write his books in the mountains in Colorado, I believe. Just kind of like his place of, Zen, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And he's rescued during a snowstorm is when his car crash happened by Annie Wilkes, who was played by Kathy Bates. She rescued him, took him to her home and, was telling him like, hey, it's because, the roads are blocked, the phone lines are down. I can't get any contact with the outside world really. And she was telling him that, she's his biggest fan. So she's going to make sure he's okay, everything like that. Obviously it kind of goes bad because, she's a killer and she was planning on just forcing him to write the book that she wanted and not what most big fans would want, just specifically what she wanted. But there's also like hints towards like other crazy things in her past, which we don't have to dive into. But he keeps trying to escape the house, and yeah, I gave it a 6. I think that there could have been a lot more depth added to the story. Paul Sheldon as a character, I could really care less about him. It's mentioned that he has a daughter once or twice. We never see the daughter. We don't know anything about the past with his daughter. And we see his agent, which for all I care, the agent only cares about him because of the book. Like that's the only reason she called the hotel that he checked out of that day to check, and the sheriff. It seems like that's the only reason that she was looking for him, is just because she wanted to get the book back in time for their board meeting or whatever. That was some major issues with the movie for me, but I mean, what do you think?
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. You bring up the daughter, like, oh, like I have a daughter and all this, and it's like, okay, does the daughter not care?
Yeah.
Even if it's like a kid, it's like what? And
Yeah, but
there's
also
no way like the writer is like the only one that cares about him. Like that's just, it's not believable.
Yeah, you can't tell me that you can't pay like a 5-year-old girl in Hollywood to do like a 3-minute scene just showing like his relationship with his daughter or something. There's nothing there for me to care enough about this guy. And for all I know, nobody else cares either, except for the news teams that were there at the crash site when they found his destroyed car. Like,
Yeah.
that's the best you can show me for how the world is freaking out that this guy's missing. Come on. I didn't feel like I cared at all the whole movie.
Yeah, especially because he's such like a publicly known person, and like if no one cares about him except for his like kind of boss, it's like, okay, was he really that great of a person then?
And I'd argue the sheriff cared about him more. He cared enough
Yeah.
about him to read his damn book. So
Yeah.
So kind of getting into that, the characters, obviously we had Paul Sheldon, and then Annie Wilkes. I gave it a 4. And the only reason it got a 4 is because Kathy Bates was amazing in this. Like the only thing I cared about was making sure she died. I didn't care about who survived or anything, but I was like, God, I hate this lady. She's so frustrating to watch. And she's so like egomaniacal about everything she does. She was by far and away the highlight of this whole movie.
No, yeah, for sure. So Kathy Bates won an Oscar for this, yet, which is like the only Oscar that's ever been won for any Stephen King adaptation.
Wow.
Is from this movie.
I didn't know that.
Which I didn't know that until after, but a little crazy. I gave it a little bit higher mainly because like seeing the relationship. I also think Annie Wilkes is like such a like wow, like crazy character
Yeah.
of herself. Which I got a question for you. Do you think at first it was like good intentions of like why she like rescued him and all that, and then it just kind of turned into like nothing's perfect for me?
Think no, because she specifically told him that she had been watching him the past few days. I think that she had a plan to do something. She might have not known to what full extent. Like, I don't think she knew that like she wanted to eventually kill him, even up until that point. But I think that she had a plan to like kind of force him to write the book that she wanted to write.
Yeah, that's like she was definitely like 100% a stalker, like crazy. Yeah, I don't know if she would have gone up to like actually kidnapping him like without the crash,
Yeah.
but she was definitely following him, and that's she saw the crash. She was like, "All right, bet
Yeah.
that's my man."
So for cinematography, I gave it a 7. I did think this was really good. It kind of reminded me a lot of some of the scenes in The Shining. Not as good, but positioned shots where Kathy Bates was kind of looking over top of Paul Sheldon, which, really gave her that like overall like threatening presence and made him feel like obviously he was a cripple throughout most of this movie, but it really made him feel super weak and not having any control for anything. I think him as an actor, he did play that well. It felt like he was really weak and beat up and destroyed because, what did he break? 2 legs, dislocated shoulder. I don't even remember the extent of his injuries from the
I think it was
car
dislocated
crash.
shoulder and 2 like broken legs until she
Yeah.
ended up breaking them again. So that's a
Yeah, that
nasty
was
scene, but
a nutty scene to watch.
yeah,
But the cinematography of it all was pretty good. I think it was one of the better parts of this movie, especially getting into the set design as well. The set design was pretty great. Obviously, they were off in the mountains somewhere, but the house really felt like a maze, especially when Paul was trying to get around. And throughout the beginning of the movie, obviously, he was bedridden. So we didn't ever see the rest of the house from her perspective until maybe an hour into the movie, which was good because we had the same, kind of question marks floating around about where Paul is, just like he did.
yeah. Maybe I'm crazy, but I feel like the house seemed more and more confusing at the beginning, and then as he like started venturing out more, it seemed more normal. So it's
Yeah.
like maybe like as the time progressed, it was becoming more normal as we were seeing it too, instead of like a maze, because that's how
No,
he
I
started viewing it.
yeah, I agree. And I think it felt to me like his bedroom started to feel smaller, like more contained, easier to move around in. Maybe just because when he was sitting on that bed, like the wide shot of him just laying there kind of helpless was made the room feel empty, but it felt like the room was getting smaller. Like you said, the house was becoming more and more clear, less obstacles, that kind of thing.
Yeah, especially once he's like stopped taking the pills and all that. You could see like everything was starting to clear up for him. He started picking up on like what her true intentions were pretty quick.
Yeah, I don't know much about medicine. What was that? What was that medicine that she was force
I
feeding
don't.
him?
I think it was not. I don't think it's supposed to be anything specific. It's just supposed to be like
Okay.
some kind of poisoning of him.
Okay.
Because
Or like
there's a
some
couple like real life
hallucination.
stories of people doing this.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Specifically, I don't know if you ever heard about like that one mom that was like, "Oh, my kid's disabled." In reality, there nothing was wrong with her, but she was like poisoning her like her entire like adult like entire childhood and growing up.
That's a movie, right?
It's a real story.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But I'm saying they made a
Yeah,
movie about it. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I've heard that one. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, yeah, I was thinking like maybe it'd be something like that, but and maybe that's why he was like, kind of stopped taking it, but I'm not sure. Let me dive into the dialogue here. So dialogue, I give it a 6. Like I said, Annie was great and reusing terms too. Like she always kept saying every time she talked to him, Tyler, what'd she say?
I'm your number one fan.
Yes, she always say that. And I thought that was
I
so
told you
good
I'm your
because
number one fan.
it was really good because we felt her like becoming crazier and crazier. Like only a crazy person would say that many times. They get it the first time, right? Like the first time she says it,
Yeah,
we're like, oh, how sweet of her. Like, of course she's going to care about this guy so much. And then
yeah,
by the last time, we're like, this lady's not.
yeah. It's like, all right, we get it. I think
Yeah.
even after like the fifth time, he's like, oh God. He's like,
Yeah.
I think at first he's like, oh, she's nice, but like she's kind of just weird. And it turns it's like, oh, okay, this girl's actually creepy. Okay, this girl's dangerous.
Yeah. And I felt like her angry moments really shine just as bright as her chill moments, especially in the beginning. Like she very casually was like, oh, I was following you to your cabin and everything like that. And I was like, that's normal. Is that normal for, like, I was questioning myself, is that normal for everybody? Or like, I would never follow somebody. I don't care who you are. Like, I
Yeah.
don't care how famous or what, but like both of them were really great in her instance. And I said for dialogue, Paul gave pretty much nothing.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
necessarily a knock on the actor. It's just, I got nothing out of him really.
Because he does a lot of like facial acting and then a lot of like movement acting. So like dialogue, what I think would have been really helpful, and I don't know if the book goes into it, of like an inner dialogue.
Yeah.
I think an inner dialogue of his thoughts would be, even just like if it's small and not like a main key part of the film. If it was like some parts, I think that would be really cool
Yeah.
that they could
And
have done.
I know that, Annie was a very crazy person, but when Paul would be like feeding her BS and lies, I'd be like, I don't care how crazy you are. Like, I can tell this guy's full of it. Like, he's not going to do this. He's not going to do that. Like, how dumb is she not to like catch on to him? Just like, Annie, can you get this for me? I'd really appreciate it. Shut up. Like, this isn't good. We all know you're just full of it. And then to get into the acting, I gave it a 6 as well. Like I said, Kathy Bates was amazing. James Caan was mediocre at best. I didn't feel much for his character. I kind of already talked about that earlier, but I think it might also be like a world building problem. Like I was explaining, I don't know who in this world cares that he's alive and cares that he's dead. People in the town talk about it because, of course, they know that he comes there every time to write his book, but how do people in Texas feel about this guy? How do
Yeah.
people on the other side of the world care about this guy? Like, I don't know. And there's not much world building around that. I think like it might have been cliche, but showing like a small news anchor, somebody describing like, hey, this guy's been missing for a week, on national TV or something, would just give everybody like some perspective into what's going on. But there was never any of
Yeah.
that for me. And I thought that really hurt the acting for him.
No, I think so too. And again, what I think would have been really cool to do like an inner monologue thing where he is like, that's a separate character with the same person though.
Yeah, no, I
Which
agree.
really it is really hard to do well in a movie, but a lot of movies that do that end up doing that well and turn out to be like great films.
Like, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they do it a couple times in The Shining.
Yeah, they definitely do.
Yeah, yeah. I was gonna say that's what it kind of was. That's what I was immediately thought of when you said that.
Or even like maybe he's writing a book based off of this event, so it's like a
Hmm.
little like narration over it, because he is an author at the end of the day.
Yeah, yeah,
Like, there's a lot of ways that they could have gone with it that I think was a little bit missed.
yeah. And then for directing, I gave this a 6 as well. Obviously, it's Rob Reiner again. The movie felt dragged out to me. Like I felt like there was a point about 45 minutes in, I was like, all right, just let's get to the end of this. I know Kathy Bates and I know her character and what she's up to. Again, don't really care much about anybody else. So let's just wrap this thing up. It just felt like everything was just kind of there for like, I don't know, like the fast food of it. Like just feed me more, you know, bland food, I guess.
No, I know what you mean. But they're just like kind of pushing the story along without like any. And then it goes back to like the plot part where there's not a lot of like zigzagging or up down part of the plot. It's just like a little bit too much zigzagging where you're just like, what? Okay, where are we? Like what part of the story are we actually in?
Also, don't know if this falls under directing, but I said it's very convenient how the sheriff found everything out. The one note that he wrote down about the book, just conveniently, she said in a news article from 20 years ago or something. Yeah. I don't
Yeah,
know if that has anything to do with the book. I don't know what happens in the book, but I was like, okay, nice catch there, pal. This is Batman reading the newspaper.
there's definitely some other ways that he could have known. Like her going to like, I think what really got his attention was like how crazy she was like at the grocery store, and she was like, "That's a little weird."
Exactly. And I guess with a small town like that, that would be something alarming, not like in a
Yeah,
big city. You'd see something like that every day.
yeah, exactly.
And then for the soundtrack, I gave it a 6. I said, it was fine, nothing special. I thought it, used, you know, I thought it used music effectively enough to build like suspense, especially like in the ending scene. But other than that,
Yeah, I feel like it again started like prolonging it, which I thought wasn't a bad thing. Where like each like different small like big climatic scene had its like own like needle drop,
yeah,
while like not every scene needed a needle drop though. But that's more on
yeah,
like a directing choice for editing choice.
yeah. And then for theme, I gave it a 7. Obviously it talks about like the dark sides of fandom, which I'm sure Stephen King felt right when writing this book. I don't know when he wrote this throughout all of his stories that he wrote, but obviously it's a pretty big one if they made a movie out of it. And I'm sure he's felt that before. I'm sure he has his super fans, everything like that. So maybe this was a message to them to like, hey, back off. Um, and then obviously the struggle of survival and control and just kind of the blurred lines between fiction and reality. I think it touched on that a little bit. But again, I felt like it could have dove into all these a lot more. What did you think about the themes?
I thought the theme was interesting, and I think it again probably is going into what Stephen King himself was kind of scared of at that point. Because you think
Yeah.
about like what his run was after The Shining, and then Stand by Me, this movie, and he's just like one of the biggest authors ever. So it's like maybe it's always that like scary thought probably for celebrities is like, what if you get in the hands of like a crazy fan that like would do anything to be near you, and then so he definitely was probably on some drugs doing this, but at the same time, you get to feel like his own fear being throughout it. I don't think I could personally relate to it, but
Yeah.
I could imagine like that being scary once you get really popular at no matter what you do, that like crazy fans exist. Like there's been plenty of fans that have killed celebrities in the past.
Yeah. And then for editing, I gave this a 5. I said it was fine at best. I felt that some scenes were like really out of nowhere. Like we'd cut from a super tense scene with Paul and Annie, and then it would be like the sheriff like just being an a-hole to his wife. And I'm like, what is going on? Like, why is that there? It's just like some comedic relief thing in the middle of like a
Yeah.
really tense moment.
Or like the New York like book person, like it would just cut to her just doing God knows what. I was like, all right, what is she doing?
Some random side quest she's on calling somebody else about Paul missing. And I'm like,
Yeah.
again, I don't care about this character right now. Like, why
Yeah.
do I need to know what you're doing?
It's like, where is the daughter? Like,
I have
where?
seen nothing that makes me think this guy is even a dad. Why do I care if he makes it out of here?
Yeah, man. Kind of
So
funny. But
yeah, no. And then overall, I gave it a 6.1 out of 10 or a 61. So I think kind of this week you had your highest rated movie and I've had my lowest rated movie since we started the show, which is kind of nuts.
yeah. I rated it like a 6.5 out of 10 or 65. I have a lot of like similar problems with you. I remember watching this when I was younger and I was like, oh, this is like all right. And then I rewatched it and I was like, okay, I think I can like, kind of understand why I haven't tried to like, or
Yeah.
I don't go out of my way to go watch this at all. Yeah, it's really just praise for its performances, but I think it is kind of a shame that it's like the only movie that's won an Oscar from his entire like adaptation of all his different kinds of books.
Yeah. And don't hear what I'm not saying. I think Kathy Bates deserved it 100%. She was so like thrilling as a character. Like in these movies, when there's like a stereotypical villain like this, like it's so like dire that the audience hates that person. And I feel like I truly did. Her
Yeah.
character was so dark and just, yeah, it felt really cruel. But yeah, that's what pretty much made this movie as high as the score as it was.
Yeah. And also like, yeah, Kathy Bates' performance is great, but when we talk about his other films like that we rank and within his top 10. Some of them it makes no sense to me how best adapted screenplay doesn't end up winning for some of these. Even for Stand By Me, I don't understand that.
Yeah.
Of course, you got to look at the competition, but still, you would think at least one of them. We could do a rapid fire of this, but who was your favorite character? I think I know.
Annie.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only character in this movie.
Yep, me too. Annie. What was your favorite scene?
Favorite scene? Honestly, just to be petty, I'm going to say every scene the sheriff was just like making really bad jokes to his wife about him cheating on her. They were so stupid, but they did catch me on a few of them where I was like, where did that come from? She'd walk in and be like, must have been your mistress. And he was like, yeah, it was. My 85-year-old can still do that.
I think mine is probably the back-to-back scene of like him getting like drugged. Like all of a sudden, like you see the sheriff driving up, just run in with a needle, and he's like, and then it's like a cartoon character scene, and then he jumps in, and sheriff's like, "Well, I see nothing weird," and he's like, "Oh, wait," and then comes back, and it just fucking gets shot, and I'm like, "All right,
dude,
is this just like a cartoon movie at this point?"
He walked around the whole house and didn't think any of that was weird, that she had a literal shrine to this dude, like 2 miles away from the accident. Come on.
Yeah.
What is happening?
He finally walked out and he's like, wait a second.
At that point, he already knew that somebody from the outside forcefully entered the car to pull him out. And not this super fan that happens to be like 2 miles from the accident, but we're still looking. What?
Yeah. That was just such a cartoon like scene in my opinion.
Yeah. I will say, let me be nice to this movie. The scene where Paul was trying to put the medicine in her wine to drug her, I did feel like a lot of suspense building in that scene. Like that felt like it was very tight and a lot of pressure. And I felt like uncomfy watching it because of everything that the stakes that were involved.
Yeah. The suspense in this movie is great. And I think that's also built up like why it's still like recognized as a great film because of the suspense that it builds up. Last thing is, what did the ending mean to you? Which for me, it's like in a weird way that he thought him meeting Annie was like the best thing that could ever happen.
Yeah. I get where you could get that from. I just like, again, I felt like this is like a fast food movie. Like there was nothing that deep for me to take out of this. Yeah. I just felt like, there's just this crazy lady. And what Paul learned in the end is that he didn't even really like writing these books. So we knew that already from the beginning.
Yeah.
You told me that at the beginning and you want me to take away this grand thing about it. Maybe if I was a writer, I'd get it more, but I just didn't take away anything from watching it.
Maybe also that superstitions don't exist. His own superstition is why any of this even happens.
Yeah. That could be true too.
Yeah. And then, okay, now we're going to get into like ranking his top 10 movies. It's going to be working a very similar way that we did the Christopher Nolan one, where we keep going back and forth. I would like this one to be a little bit more collaborative, especially because you haven't seen 10 films of his, right?
I've seen 7. Seen 7.
And I've seen 15, so I think I can fill in the rest for the most part. And a couple of them, like I feel like most people haven't seen. Now you haven't seen like his newest one, The Long Walk, right?
No, I haven't seen that yet.
You haven't seen The Mist either?
Let me read you what I've seen. It'll make it easier. So I've seen The Shining. I've seen Shawshank Redemption. I've seen Stand By Me as of this week. I've seen It 1 and 2. I've seen Dr. Sleep. And I've seen Misery. That should be 7.
Okay. Yep. So I've seen all those: The Green Mile, The Long Walk, The Mist, Gerald's Game, The Monkey, Carrie, both of them, Pet Sematary, and The Dark Tower, which is a lot more than I thought I saw of him, to be quite honest. But some of them I didn't even recognize until like really looking them up that they were. But yeah, so how it's going to work is I'll do the random name generator again to where we can see who goes first. And one team's going to be getting 1, 3, 5, 7, 9. The other one gets 10, 8, and so on and so forth. And then the person that gets 2, 4, and so on will be getting 2 vetoes. Another person only gets 1. But again, I think to do it justice, we should probably be a little bit more collaborative, especially because I think I've seen some better ones on his list than some of the ones that you've seen that I think you specifically really don't like one of them.
Yeah.
Um,
It won't make it
so
on the
yeah.
list. Don't worry.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, so Justin, you're first, so you
Okay.
get to choose. Do you want to choose the number one? I feel like getting number one is pretty easy because I feel like there's such a clear number one.
Yeah, I agree. I
Yeah.
think I agree. I'm going to do, I'll take number one. Because
Okay.
I think
And I'll
last
do
time I took the extra veto. So I'm going to take number one.
Okay. Nah,
And
I'm
we're
pretty
going
sure me and you are
backwards?
gonna. Yes.
Okay.
So starting at 10. Okay. So starting with number 10, I'm gonna go with starting with number 10. I haven't seen obviously all of his movies because I think there's one that I'm really missing that a lot of people really like, but I haven't seen it. So I'm gonna go with original Carrie. What year did that come? Because the newest one, spoiler alert, kind of sucks. But
So I've heard it's the same with Pet Sematary, right?
yeah, I've seen both. Yeah, the newer ones, they just don't. It's just not that good. I don't know what to say about it. It just does not do the movie right. But the 1976 Carrie, that one's good.
Okay.
Pig's blood. She actually has like superpowers, or like just she's a witch pretty much. People bully her. They pour pig's blood on her after she's like dresses really nice to go out with the guy she likes, and then she like kills like half the town.
Yeah.
Pretty fun movie. Okay, you got number 9.
Yeah. For number 9, I'm going to go It Too.
It Too.
I
Okay.
remember watching this and just not being like caring that much. Obviously, like the first one did so well in the box office and everything. Like everybody was talking about that movie for months. I think it was just kind of hard to follow it up with, but I think they did a good job at casting the older versions of the characters and carrying out the plot that way. But besides that, I just remember leaving and feeling a little bit disappointed with where the story.
I agree. I think the second one definitely lacks from what the first one really had, which is kind of surprising looking at all the actors in it. You'd think it would be a fire movie, but
Yeah.
has a lot to live up to, I feel like. Yeah, I got no problem with that one. So number 8. For number 8, I am going to go. Just trying to think of the ones that you've seen. Okay, I'm going to go The Mist.
I've heard good things.
Yeah, I recommend this movie to most people. I think it's got a lot. I would say it's on like the same level as Misery, where like we said we had problems with the movie, but it's still like a good movie. Like we rated it above a 5. Anything above a 5, in my opinion, is a good enough movie to like go out of your way to go see.
Yeah.
Yeah, it came out in 2007. I thought it was a M. Night Shyamalan film, but not. It's just like a little smaller film. But yeah.
So for number 7, I think I'm just going to go with Misery. Like you kind of explained, it was good. I know it sounds like I just bashed on it a lot, but I thought it was an okay movie. There's not a lot to take out of it. Kind of go into it expecting, like, don't expect like, a Shining, a Shawshank, like these deep stories. Just kind of expect like a surface level, this is the story, and go through with it. Think that was part of my problem too. I kind of went into it with really high hopes and didn't get as much as I wanted.
I definitely agree. We already talked about it a lot, but I still think it's a solid movie. Right above The Mist for me in my personal ranking. So this number 6, me personally, I'm going to go with It.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. I think this is a perfect spot for it, where the movie itself has a little bit of problems, but I think it's really adapted well from the book, because that book is super hard to adapt. I do recommend reading it because it's a great book, but I'm surprised that they did that well at adapting it, because it's not just about a simple Pennywise the clown. It's like his entire, he like lands I think 200 years before like the stuff in like actual movie takes place. And there's so many more different stories that comes into it. They get into like politics, they get into like religion, they get into a bunch of things, which is great for a movie, really hard to adapt.
Yeah. No, I really like this movie too, and I was actually gonna put it at 5 if he didn't take it there. So let me see here.
I feel like there's like a clear top 5, but you've seen 3 of them. So we'll
Yeah,
see.
I might have to put one out of place here. Might force a veto on your hands. I'm gonna stick to my a list that I had when I made before filming. So I'm gonna go 5, Stand By Me, and I know it's gonna get vetoed by Tyler. Before I write
Yeah.
anything down, do you have anything you want to say?
I'm 100% going to veto this.
Okay.
This isn't like my top movie for Stephen King. I want that to be known, even though it's a personal top favorite movie for me. I can understand why probably 2 movies are going to be above it. If that gives you any hint of what I'm thinking.
I think it is, but there's also that third one.
I'm thinking, I'm just going to say it, what I think you should put here personally, even though you
Yeah, I was
haven't
gonna
seen it,
ask for help.
is The Long Walk. I really think that that movie is going to
Wow.
grow so well. It's just done so well. Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna go
Where,
see it. And if this
yeah,
sucks, I'm coming back and changing 5.
if you don't like get a little bit teary eyed during it with like, again, we're talking about like how it stand on me, like the conversations are so real. The conversations are so deep in that movie. And David Johnson in that movie is such a standout. Like, holy crap. That guy's going to be a star.
Okay.
Philip Seymour Hoffman's son is also in that movie, which Philip Seymour Hoffman is like one of the goats of actors
Yeah.
of all time, which you can really see in the performance because I don't want to ruin it. But yeah, we could talk about it once you go see it.
All
So is
right.
that where you're pointing at 5?
Yeah, I'll put that at 5. But if it sucks, I'm coming back and changing it.
Okay. I think you'll think it's better than Misery. So
Okay.
at number 4, I'm going to go with The Green Mile.
I haven't
Again,
seen it yet, and it's not for any reason besides I just haven't gone to it and been like, yeah, I need to watch this yet.
So being front forward this week, it was between The Green Mile or Misery that Justin was going to end up being his movie.
And you
And
picked the worst one.
looking back at it, for some reason, I thought The Misery was better, or maybe because I've watched The Green Mile so much in my life where I was just like, I
Sick
haven't
of
seen
it.
Misery for a while. And
Yeah.
then I was like, wait, never mind.
No, that's definitely a thing too. Like you can easily get sick of like really good movies just because you accidentally watch them way too much.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So for number 3,
Okay.
I think
And
I'm
you got
going
number
to
3.
do, yeah, I think I'm going to do Shawshank Redemption.
It's an
Is
interesting
that
choice.
what you're expecting?
No, what I thought what was going to happen was you were going to do Stand By Me here. Then we do those 2 movies, Shawshank and The Shining, for the last 2.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I just didn't want to go back and force another Shawshank Redemption, or sorry, Stand By Me veto.
Yeah. It's fine with me because it's like probably my favorite film of his, like from his adaptations. But
Plus, this will get the
Shawshank,
people on TikTok really ripping.
yeah, I'm pretty sure TikTok. I don't know what TikTok believes, but most people believe that Shawshank Redemption is like a perfect movie.
Yeah, no, that's
It's
what I've
got the
heard
highest
too.
rating
So.
on here. It's got the highest rating on Letterboxd out of all these movies by far. Like 4.2 for The Shining and Stand By Me, 4.3 for The Green Mile. That's a little big. And then Shawshank Redemption is 4.6. It's like, I think it's like 95 on Rotten Tomatoes, both of them.
Yeah. So yeah, I love this movie. I actually watched this for the first time maybe a year or 2 ago, and again, I was kind of like, why haven't I dove into this yet? But yeah, great all the way around. The actor's great, story's great. The stories that came out of the movie are great. Like there's so many. I'll see a TikTok video every few months of like some niche little thing that happened on set of this, and it led to this in the movie or something like that. And I find that stuff so fascinating.
Yeah, it's actually insane that the lead actor, I don't know his name. I would have to look it up. I don't know how he doesn't win an Oscar for his
Yeah.
performance, or at least like best adapted screenplay. Like, how does it not win? And I think it gets nominated, but yeah,
So
definitely.
I read somewhere that when this movie came out, there was the same week Forrest Gump came out, and then something else came out in theaters. And so it tanked the box office because it had like such heavy competition in the box office that week. And so it kind of just sent it down like a rabbit hole of like not being anything for like 5 years after it came out. And then all of a sudden, like it started picking up, and now people talk about it like it was probably the best one of those three in the movie theater at the time.
Yeah. So the best picture that like this year, like competition was Forrest Gump, Pulp Fiction, and Shawshank Redemption. And then Four
That's
Weddings
what
and a
it was.
Funeral and Quiz Show. But like those two movies aren't that great. Or slash,
That's what it was.
I haven't seen
It
Quiz
was Pulp
Show.
Fiction.
So yeah. Forrest Gump ended up winning Best Picture. I like Forrest Gump. Shawshank Redemption is better. I'll stand by that.
I'll say it's better than Pulp Fiction too.
Yeah, I think so too. Which people die by Pulp Fiction.
People die by Shawshank too, dude.
Yeah, they really do. That's why we may get some hate on the internet for putting it at number
You can
3.
veto it, man. You can veto it.
Yeah, I'm going to veto it. Which is
All right,
crazy
I'll
because
do it.
What's going to end up going here is like that movie that I personally like better, but I just don't think is like going to be recognized as.
It's got to be an impartial list. That's fair.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me go Stand By Me.
Yeah, Stand By Me. The other great movie. We talked about it most of this podcast. Yeah, I'm going to stand for it. I'm probably going to get a poster of it and have it on my wall now because I love this. It's going to be one of the movies I show my kids when they're in middle school. But
all right, you're number 2.
All right. Number 2. You have a veto, so you pretty much can decide what happens here. Slash, like, I already know where it's going. And for me, I think it literally is like 50-50. It depends on what day you ask me of what I think is actually number 1 and what's number 2. Because I think
agree.
these two are great movies that are just recognized as changing like the film industry in its own ways. But I'm going to go with the movie that I think changed the film industry the most. So I'm putting at number 2, Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, I agree. I'm going to save my redemption. Can I sell that? Or can I keep it for next sell it for $5? No, I agree. I think Shawshank and The Shining are both great movies, and I think again you can interchange these two pretty handedly. But each one will have like their own stands for sure. I've seen a lot of people stand over both of these movies. I just particularly like The Shining a little bit better.
Yeah, I think it's just like pop culturally wise, such a bigger impact than Shawshank, I will say, which is saying something because Shawshank has done a lot as well.
Yeah.
Shining is just great in its own, which is also widely recognized as Stephen King hates that movie, by the way.
Really?
He hates the adaptation. It may be more a Stanley Kubrick thing. I have a feeling they just didn't like each other.
Yeah.
That
doesn't surprise me. I don't think a lot of people like him.
No. Pretty sure Stanley Kubrick like tried to break up Tom Cruise with his last movie. And Nicole Kidman, they were like married, and then they ended up getting divorced right after the movie came out. And everyone says that Kubrick kind of like pushed their relationship during the filming.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff with that. Also, I think the Shining, I saw this somewhere, correct me if I'm wrong. The Shining is the most referenced movie in other movies of all time.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. Almost a movie every year references it in some way, without like directly or indirectly with like certain scenes and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I immediately think of Ready Player One.
Yeah, I was about to say that. Ready Player One, 100%. Like just looks at it, like really dives deep into it. A trailer just for Black Phone 2 just came out, and it's set in like the snow and stuff. And I'm like, all right, like that's like a direct correlation too.
Also, anytime somebody's breaking through a door for whatever reason, it's like, yep, there it is with an axe.
Here's Johnny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Another movie that I'm just like so confused on how it doesn't win a single Oscar. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't get it at all. Like, what were people
Yeah.
watching that year instead?
Yeah. And thank you for not putting Dr. Sleep anywhere close to the top 10 for me. The movie single-handedly ruins every plot aspect of The Shining. So it'll be on last place of Stephen King's for me all time.
I watched it. I don't have as like strong feeling towards like The Shining being like into like my filmography as like a personal liking. Like, I
Yeah.
think it's a great film, but it's not something. One, I also don't think it's very rewatchable for reasons of like the film is kind of hard to watch because it's just kind of crazy.
Yeah. It's a lot to
Scenes.
take in.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah. But yeah, I don't know. Something crazy is I just looked it up. It opened on the same weekend as The Empire Strikes Back. The Shining
Yeah.
did.
Is that just like the curse of Stephen King? Because I think we could say that those are equal. Like The Shining opening same weekend as that, and then obviously we talked about Shawshank opening with Forrest Gump and Pulp Fiction. Like that's just such a
Yeah.
curse. How does
Yeah.
that happen to these great movies?
Yeah. And then they just kind of get lost. But then you're talking about The Shining and Empire Strikes Back, probably two of the most quotable movies of all time, and also like throwback to movies.
Yeah. I mean, what a time.
Yeah. Shawshank wasn't even nominated for a single Oscar. That's actually insane.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah. It's like, how
Dang,
does
I'm
Jack
wondering
Nicholson
what
not?
Stand By Me opened with.
Let's look it
Like,
up.
I'm sure that it's something you're like, oh yeah, that's clearly a little bit better of a movie, and I understand why it probably won.
No, this one
Nothing.
did not. No.
Okay.
It grossed a lot for like a coming of age film. Like
Yeah.
52 and a half, like 0.3 million. I don't know what that is in today's money, but probably a good amount. It's also a rated R kid movie though. So it's like, no wonder why it didn't make a lot of movie.
Yeah. I could imagine it's kind of hard to, release that in theaters and try to find a target audience to portray to.
Yeah. It's such a niche story of Stephen King's apparently too. And Rob Reiner wasn't like a known director at that time because then he
Yeah.
starts to come out with a bunch of movies after that become more known. Like it was part of his filmography, but
Yeah.
yeah. So there's like one specific future Stephen King film that's coming out this year that I know of. The Running Man has Glenn Powell in it. It's filmed by Edgar Wright, which Edgar Wright almost kills it in everything he does. So I'm actually really looking forward to that movie. I think it'll be a really fun movie, but like not a really deep movie, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, because most of the Edgar Wright movies are kind of that way, where you got Spot Cohen versus the World, like that, and then Last Night in Soho. I think he does Baby Driver too.
Mm-hmm. I think that
Shaun of
was
the
him.
Dead, Hot Fuzz, The World Ends. He's known for comedies, so I have a feeling the movie's gonna be pretty funny. But yeah, getting into what we're doing next week. Next week we are going to be doing road trip films, specifically Almost Famous and Rain Man. I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't seen either, so
Me neither.
I
Should
think
be a
it'd
good
be
one.
yeah. Road trip, like as a topic itself, can be very diverse, and what you like actually describe what a road trip film counts as.
Yeah.
So I'm interested. We will also have a guest on, Shane Hewitt. So that'd be fun. And then we'll probably end with a little draft.
All right.
Awesome. Thank you for listening.